Hello, you're listening to Nick Needs to Know, the podcast. Join me as I have open, honest and relatable conversations around careers, mindsets and life in general, and what that looks like for each one of our different guests. On this episode, I am joined by Tom Maguire, currently a custodial manager within the prison service, where we talk about his life and career, both past and present, and his previous struggles with addiction. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, Tom, nice to meet you again. How are you going?
Really well, thank you. Good to see you. Not seen you for a couple of years. Good to catch up.
So a bit of background, me and Tom used to work together at the same establishment, Lindholm Prison. You're still there, I believe?
Yeah, this is my 9th year.
9th year. Wow. So thanks anyway for joining me today on Nick Needs to Know. You've heard a few of my podcasts after previous conversations we've had. So you kind of get the gist. We're going to talk about your career history and how you've got to where you are today. So Tom, I wonder if you can tell me, if you can take it back as many years as it was, to your first paid job, and what was it?
Yeah, so it started off around 12, 13. I got a paper round while I was at school. And then I got another job while I was at school, which was working in a butcher's, and another job while I was at school, which was working in a restaurant as a pot washer. So yeah, three paid jobs all at once. And that was pretty much up until I was about 16. I left the butcher's Saturday job and the paper round when I got to 16 and went into A-levels at school because I could do more hours at the restaurant as a pot washer. And then I went to university, and I did work at university. I worked back at the restaurant when I came home from summer. And then I finished university when I was 22. And I came out of university in 2007, a little bit lost of what I wanted to do. And it was the height of the recession. So there were the opportunities were limited, but a lot of me not really going into what I wanted to do was because I came out of university not really knowing. So I went back to the restaurant for a couple of years, started off pot washing again, coming out of university, and then progressed into the manager of the office. I also took on an extra role at what's called an attendance centre, which is working with low-risk offenders that aren't quite at the stage of prison yet. So that was using sport to teach them life skills on a Saturday. I then moved from the restaurant to work in an online shoe shop, selling shoes. I then moved, so they were all in my village, those jobs. I then moved to a main job in Barnsley, which was working as an activities coordinator in a mental health care home. And whilst I was there, I took on another 3 jobs. So I maintained the job that I was having with the offenders, which was every other Saturday. I took on a role as a youth worker, which was on a Thursday and a Friday. And I was also a DJ on a Thursday, Friday and Saturday. So I was running 4 jobs at the time. I then left that job.
You like to keep yourself busy.
Yeah. I then left that job in 2013 and moved to the YMCA as a key worker to work with people who wanted support with housing and jobs and what have you. As part of the agreement with them, I had to lose the DJing and the offender job continued, but I also had to lose the youth work as well. So I cut it down to 2 jobs. I was there for about a year and a half till October 2014 when I joined the prison service. I've been in the prison service ever since. Well, ever I've been in the prison service, I've only had the one job, and I've been there for, like I said, this is my 9th year. And yeah.
So, okay, going back to university, was it you went to?
Yeah.
What was you studying at university?
Sports coaching.
Sports coaching. And what was your mentality at the time when you left university, obviously into a big recession? Not a lot about. You've got all these qualifications, but yet you find yourself back washing pots.
Yeah, so I came out of university in a bit of a slump and a bit of a attitude around blame, and a real to me kind of awareness in that everything's happening to me and I'm a victim of all this. All this recessions, nothing's falling onto my lap. Why aren't people knocking on my door? I know I'll just go back to the restaurant where I'm certain I'll get a job. I know I can do that job. And I suppose I came out of university using those excuses as a reason not to stretch myself, if that makes sense.
Obviously, you've gone back into the pot washing, but you found yourself working up in that environment. So did you say you ended up being more than a pot washer at the restaurant? Yeah,
so I moved into the office, if you like, and the office, I mean, it was a family-run restaurant. So it wasn't like I was coordinating multiple restaurants in a big working office. It was two restaurants, and at times it was just me running it, and then other times I had an assistant with me. So officially I was the office manager, but it wasn't as if it was a big organisation that I was managing from an office point of view.
But still, you've been given some responsibility within that environment, haven't you? So somebody has seen something about the way you're working and stuff like that. Do you think that's give you a bit of a boost in looking at your own career at that time and what you could potentially be doing different?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the guy who owned the restaurants knew me 6-7 years by that point. So he knew I was someone that I could be relied on, someone who he could trust, someone who he knows would turn up and work hard. But yeah, it certainly gave me a sense of confidence that I could progress in career.
And then you start looking at the other things you were doing with the youth working and the pre-offender stuff you were doing.
Yeah.
A lot of that is developing others. There seems to be a lot of that in your career story so far. What made you want to do that, take that path, like developing others and taking others from the edge and bringing them back sort of thing?
Yeah, good question. So as part of my sports coaching degree, I had to do some coursework where you had to coach some individuals and video it and then use it as part of your project. And the attendance centre, which is the work with the offenders, is actually something that my dad was involved in. So during university, when I needed these people to coach, my dad said, well, why don't you come to the attendance centre, do a bit of sport with them, you can video it and, use it for your course. And I went along, and what I was really motivated by, and what I still am motivated by today, is just how bigger impact you can have on people that are vulnerable, don't really have the same environment, set up, upbringing that perhaps I've had, and use sport to take them onto bigger and better things. And, I that's how I really got a taste for helping people. And the attendance centre liked what I did on that 1 or 2 days where I came and did a bit of coursework for university. And that's how I got invited into that job once I'd finished university, and that prolonged for 6 or 7 years. So I really took some inspiration from helping those that are perhaps not fortunate to have the upbringing that I was.
Yeah. And would you say the steps you've taken in your career so far, i.e. the sports coaching and stuff like that, has helped shape future steps that you may have made?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Because there's a lot of transferable skills, I would imagine, isn't there?
With sports coaching?
What you're doing. Yes.
Yeah.
You're dealing with people, aren't you?
Yeah, so sports coaching's is no different to anything that you're coaching. It's about, taking someone from where they currently are to where they want to be and breaking down the challenges and the barriers on the way. And that includes, helping them through those challenges. It includes demonstrating how you overcome them challenges. And yeah, it's very, very transferable. Just because I've done it this morning when I was at the gym and my mate was there, and ironically he'd asked me this morning, is there any chance you can pop to the gym and show me a few things? And he was there this morning, so I did. And it was no I was just guiding him on the difficulties he was facing at that time to move him closer to where he wanted to be.
So a lot of good coaches I ever come across have actually been through a lot of hardship and dealt with a lot of problems themselves. That is what's made them a good coach, is the experiences. Is there anything that you've had to overcome, or any hardships that you thought have made you a better person and can coach somebody out of those situations that you may have faced yourself?
Yeah, 100%. So I suppose I didn't mention in terms of coming out of university into a recession was that I also had inherited a gambling addiction at university. And in 2007, when I came out of university, that wasn't the major issue that it turned into over the course of the next 10 years. So that would be my biggest deal with adversity. Pretty much I was a full-blown gambling addict from 2000 and I would say end of 2007 to the middle of 2016. And that progressed quite considerably in a short space of time, which put huge pressure on me, and would explain why, yes, I naturally am quite hardworking and like to keep myself busy, but some of the having 3 or 4 jobs was about financially supporting my gambling addiction.
Okay, because gambling, people can look at it as just one word, gambling addiction. It's got a problem with gambling, but there's a lot of things that can create outside of that, isn't there? Like family problems, mental health issues and things like that. So I'm guessing over a 9-year period, there's a lot of them problems that you probably have to face head on. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah. So, the financial problems is just a byproduct.
Yeah.
So I would say that the biggest thing I used gambling for was to move me away from problems, or a perception of that I'm moving away from problems. And I think one of the biggest things that I certainly came out of university with over the next years was this concept that life shouldn't be about problems. A great quote from a book that I've read called Black Hole Focus is the problem in the world is that not that there's problems, it's that people think there shouldn't be problems. So gambling kind of masked that belief that, or that reality that actually life is about overcoming challenges, overcoming problems and continuing to grow. And I suppose that's the big thing that gambling almost robbed me of over 9 years, is that that knowledge of actually life is about challenge, is about discomfort, and coming over them is a sign of that you're growing, and you almost want to look for problems and challenges as an opportunity to grow. I suppose that's what gambling did. It masked that thing about life, because I was just looking for that perfect life that doesn't exist, and I wanted to do it through the click of a roulette button.
So after your addiction, I mean, 2016, did you say it was?
Yeah, 24th of May 2016.
So you know the day.
Yeah.
Why is that date? Why does that date mean something to you then? What happened on that day? Is it just completely stopped?
Yeah, that was the last time I had a bet, and probably the most precious day of my life.
And I guess the gambling then stops on that day, but other problems then begin, because getting over gambling is probably not as easy as flicking a light switch on and off, is it?
No, but it's so it probably took about 60 to 90 days to get over the behaviour of gambling.
Yeah.
However, 7 years down the line, I'm still learning how to overcome the challenges that life throws at me. So I missed out on 9 or 10 years of life throwing challenges at me, which it does, and not being able to use my own self-mastery to get through those challenges and problems. So I'm almost 10 years behind the time, if you like, in terms of overcoming problems through my own self. So, because I always use gambling as a way to deal with stress, a way to deal with boredom, a way to deal with financial problems, you name it. Gambling never let me down. But actually, once you get over, because you get a bit of motivation when you stop something, you feel good about it, and then actually life just kicks back into gear and starts throwing challenges and problems at you. And when you can't go to what you've been using as a way to mask that, you've got to start to deal with that. And that's where I'm currently at. I'm currently still working on the self-mastery to be able to overcome challenges. And I'm sure that's something that will continue for the rest of my life.
Something you touched on there was gambling never let you down. Yet there's a day where you stopped. So there must have been some realization or interjection from a third party to make to make you understand, or you might have already known that what you was doing was damaging. So what was that process for a date to come in place for you're going to say, right, that is it, enough is enough? If you're saying it never let you down.
Yeah, so in terms of it never let me down short term. And the thing with addiction is it convinces you it's your friend. So the cycle of addiction almost is we have some pain, we have a challenge, we have a problem. We want to move away from that pain. So we seek a external or internal behavior, if you like, drugs, alcohol, gambling. We get a temporary release from pain. And then we get pain from the guilt of doing what we did, which leads us back to pain. And once we're there, we look for what it is that took us away from that pain. So it never let me down in terms of taking me away from the pain, but it was always short term. And I suppose what happened on the 24th of May was a bit of a light bulb moment, really. Nobody really, because I knew gambling was causing me problems. I knew gambling was making me poor. I knew gambling was making me lose time with loved ones. I knew it was making me let other people down. But I suppose I'd not really grasped the feeling that was causing in me. So one thing that I remember doing, not so much with this analogy, but this is the analogy I used to describe that day on the 24th of May, is if we think about Ebenezer Scrooge, I kind of, on that day on the 24th of May, when I placed my last bet, I kind of mentally went, right, what have I robbed from myself in the past by doing gambling? What am I currently robbing from myself in the present by gambling? And how does my future look if I continue this? What am I continually going to rob from myself if I do not get a handle on this? And that was a realization of actual feeling that took me to the next step from just knowledge. So, like, nobody needs to know that smoking is dangerous for you. You know, everybody knows that smoking is bad for you, but smokers don't stop just on that. So knowledge is not enough. It's when some form of feeling comes in that actually kicks you into gear. So if my son was to come up and say, Daddy, I want you to stop smoking because I want you to see my 18th birthday, then wow, that's something to click hold of to maybe get a handle on that smoking. And then when it becomes your identity, so that's your next step, that's when you get long-lasting change. So the knowledge alone won't make you change. The feeling will make you change. And then it becoming your identity is when you get that long-lasting change. And that's what's kind of happened. On the 24th of May, for 10 years I'd had knowledge gambling was doing me no good, but I brought the feeling into it. And then after 60, 90 days, 120 days, I became Tom the non-gambler. And that's why it's so easy for me not to gamble on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, because now that's your new identity, Tom the non-gambler. Do you feel like it's a daily struggle? Is it always there? I guess in back in mind, because I think you touched on smoking there. Smoking, I mean, there is a habit formed with smoking and stuff, and it's a case of getting the nicotine out of your system. Gambling is knowing what that feeling does to your hormones and stuff like that, and how you feel once you get that rush. Is that a struggle to keep your mind away from that?
Not so much now. So what I'm quite good at is controlling my environment. So it's not a struggle on a day-to-day basis at all, but I don't go and sit in the bookies all day like I used to. I'm pretty sure that if I went and sat in the bookies and surround myself with gamblers, then sooner or later I'd start gambling again. I suppose the biggest struggle that I do have, and it's not so much a struggle, it's just something I need to keep in my mind, is things like raffle tickets. So raffle is a good cause, but actually it's a form of gambling because I exchange money for a chance of winning something. So that's when I don't struggle with it, but that's when I need to click my brain into gear and say, actually, no, I don't want to do that. Here's a donation. And it's not because I was addicted to raffle tickets, because I weren't. But actually, if I start the process of a raffle ticket would be a bit like a non-smoker taking one drag on a night out.
Yeah.
You start in that process again. So day to day, it's not an issue at all. I have to be wary of it, which is why I keep the date in mind and remember what life was like before that. But there are a couple of things like pub quizzes, raffles, where I just need to be a bit more heightened in terms of awareness to keep on track.
Moving away from your addiction, looking at your Instagram, you seem to be massive into fitness and helping others get into shape and stuff like that. So I am Tom Maguire on Instagram. Do you find your fitness helps and keeping fit helps suppressing other things in life, or do you do that to progress in life?
Yeah, so I think so mental health requires physical support. It's I think it's vital to keep yourself fit and healthy. That doesn't necessarily mean shredded from head to toe, not at all, but some form of health, whether that's going for a walk, using the gym, going for a run, is always going to give you a bit of support in terms of your mental health. That I truly believe. But sports played a part in my my life the whole time. I've always been into football, always been into basketball. So I suppose it's always been identity. So it's not difficult for me to go to the gym. It's not difficult for me to keep fit, and it gives me that opportunity because I'm qualified as a PT. I'm level 4 nutritionist. So I've got the knowledge, and having an Instagram helps me hit that fix of helping people that we spoke about earlier, which I really get an intrinsic reward from. And obviously, we talk about controlling your environment, and I said earlier how I don't go and sit in the bookies all day. Well, that's because I do something else, and that's, this morning I've been in the gym. That's taken an hour, 2 hours away from a day where perhaps I'd have gone and sat in the bookies if I didn't have that environment. So yeah, it's choosing your poison, isn't it? Really, it's a habit. Some days I do too much. Some weeks I do too much, and that's a natural. That's me still recovering. That's me trying to get somewhere too quick, just like I did with gambling. But overall, it's a massive, massive positive in my life.
And looking at what you're doing now within the prison service, that environment is obviously uncontrollable, and there's a lot of issues around addiction, habits, mindsets, and things like that. Do you think everything you've gone through in your past and everything you've got over and faced head on has helped you in this career, because you seem to be progressing well within the prison service? Do you think you're thriving in that environment?
Yeah, so I think it's a good question. I think for a few reasons, I've progressed quite quickly. So I'm the highest ranking uniform, and next week I go and finish off my head of function training, which will allow me to apply for governor jobs. And I've acted up as a governor. So in 9 years, that's quite a decent return in terms of success. I would say there's a few things that's played their part in that. First of all, the service went through a whole recession and unemployment, let a lot of experienced staff go. So I cannot lie that when I joined the prison service, it was a service that you could grow quickly due to the lack of experience. That didn't make it easy, which I'll come on to in a minute. But I can't get away from that. I've walked into a service that was full of experienced people that were ahead of the game of me, and I had to get ahead because I just didn't. There's still experienced people in there, but not to the level that it would have been if I'd have joined 10, 15 years earlier. For the first 3 years, I was still a gambling addict. And it's only since I gave up gambling that my careers really started to progress, which gives you an indication of just how much gambling was holding me back. But I think my experience with working with offenders helps, because what that does is, I would say, a predominant mindset in the prison service is that we can't really make much difference. And I massively disagree with that. Do I think we can change 1,000 people in my prison? No, of course I don't. However, if I stop one person committing a crime, then how many victims have I saved? Now, that's a very different success marker than we need to change the whole world. But actually, it becomes very achievable. And the knock-on domino effect of that is you are changing a community maybe, and you have a greater impact on the world than you think just by hitting one person. So I went into the job with that mindset, and that was met with some restriction and challenge. How I progressed so quickly is because I got noticed, ironically, through gambling. So after a year of non-gambling, I set up a gambling course for prisoners based on my knowledge that it could have some impact. And I did it off my own back in my own time with no extra reward. And it proved really successful. And from that, I won the Prison Officer of the Year award in 2019 for changing lives. And that kind of was the catalyst for propelling me upwards. You still, in a prison, you still have to get noticed. You need that little bit of luck that gets you noticed, opens up doors. And yeah, that was a big catalyst for it.
So looking back on your career and life, I guess, Tom, if you could go back to, I don't know, let's say age 15, 16, and you could tell yourself one piece of advice, what would you tell yourself?
Don't support Aston Villa.
Oh, they're doing all right, aren't they?
yeah. We've turned the corner. But I'm sceptical how long the corner is. No, it's a great question. There's lots of things that I'd tell 15-year-old Tom. But I suppose the one thing that sticks in my mind at the minute is you are already good enough.
Yeah.
You know, the chances of me being born it's a miracle I'm here. And I think people forget that. I think they forget that, you're born good enough. You are already a miracle. Why chase things trying to make you feel even better about yourself when actually you've got everything that you need? That's the big bit of advice I'd probably go and tell 15-year-old Tom. And obviously from that advice, there's quite a lot of branches.
Would you be giving that advice with the hope that things might work out different if 15-year-old Tom listened to you? Or would you not change how things are? Because ultimately, if you'd have not gone through what you've gone through or done what you've done in career and life, you wouldn't be the person you are today, would you?
No, 100%. And you can stew over these things and wish you know the things you did. And to be honest with you, Nick, I have this conversation regularly with my dad. Some of the things that I take on board in the last 7 or 8 years is exactly what my dad was telling me between the ages of 10 and 15. And you've got to realise that Tom of 15 was very different to Tom of 38. So I could go and tell him that. He probably wouldn't listen. And the decisions that I've made in my life has led me to where I am today. And that includes my 4-year-old son, Maxton. So why would I change anything?
So you touched on your son there. What does Tom do outside of work then? What gets you through a weekend if you're not working?
So I obviously invest a lot of time in my Instagram, which is around the gym and stuff like that. But I try and do as much with Maxton as I possibly can. So I go and pick him up from school today, and he's rinsing me for more Xbox games this evening. So I went and spent £40 at Cash Converters on an Xbox 360 a few months ago. It's been the best 40 quid I've ever spent because he's had some use out of it. And the whole let's go and get an Xbox game, which he asked me last night if we could after school tomorrow. The journey of that, him taking me to the shop, because I don't take him, he takes me because he knows where it is. The whole excitement of which game he's going to pick, how excited he is in the car on the way home. And then obviously playing on the Xbox. That's a big part of mine and Maxton's life at the minute. And also, tonight we're going swimming. So he's doing a lot of swimming at the minute. He plays football on a Saturday. So a lot of my time is invested in helping Maxton improve. He's, like I say, he does swimming lessons on a Sunday, but I try and take him during the week to help him along. And again, I get that fix of, I suppose there's a bit of ego in there that actually I don't want somebody else teaching my son how to swim and taking all the credit. I want some of that. So
a lot of your time is taken up, obviously, by work, and then you've got your Instagram and your stuff you do helping others with fitness, and your son, obviously. Where do you find time for yourself, Tom?
So, it sounds like I don't have much, but I will try and get out for a walk every day on my own.
Yeah.
whether that's in a dinner hour at work, whether that's, I tend to wake up pretty early in the morning. Although the late evenings are helping with the weather. I like to get out for work, stick a podcast in, stick one of my trainings in from my mentors, and just listen to that and just kind of get away. From that, I'm a season ticket holder at Aston Villa, so that's a day on my own sometimes when the season's going. I quite enjoy driving and again listening to podcasts and music and whatever, and that's pretty much what I enjoy doing.
So we're going to move into quick fire questions in a bit, Tom.
Yeah.
I know you're looking forward to that. But first of all, is there any interesting facts or hidden talents that not many people would know about you? And you give Nick Needs to Know an exclusive.
Yeah, so I touched on something earlier, which was about me DJing. And I once, a couple of things with one of the venues I used to DJ in. First of all, it was the same venue as a lad called James Hype, who's now in the charts. He's done really, really well out of it. A couple of number one singles, so he's really progressed. And it was also the venue where I warmed up for. She was named the sexiest DJ on the planet. She was garbage at DJing, I have to say. But yes, there's a couple of facts about my DJing career that was short-lived.
Do you not find yourself wanting to get back into it?
Absolutely not.
You dipped your toe in and liked it, maybe, I'm guessing, but you don't want to get back into it now?
So I was a massive dance music fan. I still am a massive dance music fan. And before all, so I went to the Birmingham DJ Academy when I was at university, and won that actually. But I was all into mixing, vinyl, CDs, and then it just got ridiculous, really, with computers and laptops and stuff like that. And I have DJed with computers and laptops, but that took a lot of the shine out of it for me. I suppose had I not been doing it in a combination with 3 other jobs, then I wouldn't have been turning up to venues absolutely knackered, and not thinking this is the worst thing on the planet. Because it like with everything, it's not all it's cracked up to be. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of energy, and it's very, very unsociable. But yeah, no, not unless it was ironically teaching others how to do it. I wouldn't be remotely interested.
Okay, so we're going to move into quick fire questions. Right, Tom, quick fire questions, 5 questions. Answer them quick, and if we want to elaborate, then we can.
Okay.
Question number 1, favourite animal?
Dog.
Question number 2, place you most want to travel to?
Mauritius.
Mauritius. Why Mauritius?
It just looks so stunning, and I've got a couple of friends that have been there, and they absolutely rave about it. I not first came aware of it. I've obviously known Mauritius for a long time, but I read a book called The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma, which talks about Mauritius a lot. And from that book, it sounded so beautiful and amazing and chilled and relaxed. So I Googled images of it and thought, yeah.
Question 3, giving presents or getting presents?
Getting.
See, I'd have thought you'd have been a giver of giving presents.
No, I'd panic that people don't like what I'd got them.
An overthinker then. Number 4, have you ever stolen anything?
Yeah, that's I've stolen money for gambling.
Question 5, who is your celebrity crush?
Maya Jama.
Good choice. See, that's mine as well, mate. It's probably the only reason I watch Love Island, to be fair.
Yeah, she's not. She doesn't. She doesn't appear on it enough.
I know, yeah. They need to do a dumping once a night. To get her on a live dumping. Look, Tom, that is it, mate. It's been fantastic talking to you about your career journey and your life journey, and how you've got to where you've got to today. And I appreciate your time and your conversation.
No, pleasure, mate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to hit that follow button and join me next time for more chats on Nick Needs to Know.